Oh, Naphessa Collier has got everyone talking about the WNBA today after she discussed the conversation she had with the commissioner, Cathy Engelbert. Plus, the Baltimore Ravens continue to fall. Might be time to pull up one for them, folks. Toys R Us making a comeback. LaVar Ball, he has some comments. All that and more in this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations. Shout out to my son on the beat. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations. This show brought to you by Six Heart Media Productions. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. Now, before we get into the show, I want to remind y'all, hit the subscribe button right now, where every week I talk about what's trending and I like to engage, whether it's here, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. I like to talk about what's going on in the world, especially sports, pop culture. You know it. And make sure you check out the Loving Them Gates podcast, which you can get every weekend. Especially, we like to discuss what happened during the week. Then me and Queen PR like to also take a character and do a deep dive, talk about like whether or not Eva's a good person, which there has to be a part 2 after this week. Whether we talk about Danny and Andre's relationship or we pour one up for Doug McBride while we ask, where did he go wrong? All that right here on the channel. Folks, when I sat down and I was preparing this show, I thought we was going to start off with the Baltimore Ravens, but something hotter has happened. I was sitting today, shout out to my sister Megan. I was getting my hair done, and all of a sudden, Queen PR, as she always, she sends me a clip, sends me a tweet or post, I should say, and it was Naphessa Collier going off. She sat down, and I love the photo where people say, when I'm about to read you the filth. She talked about conversation she had with the WNBA commissioner. Now, y'all probably know what's done happened. So, let me jump right into it, give my thoughts, right? First of all, what we see here is a miscarriage of justice. We see the women of the WNBA getting disrespected. The officials aren't held accountable. They're only getting about 6% of the revenue. Yet, you turn on your TV, you know they on ESPN, so you know that's a big money deal. You see that they're in big arenas, but yet they're only getting a small piece of the pie, right? What was so interesting was when she revealed that Cathy said that they should be happy. When she brought up the fact that players like Angel Reese, Paige Buckners, and Caitlin Clark, who have been making money off the court, and yet they're not making that much money with their current rookie deals, she said, oh, well, they should be happy. They should be happy at the money they get. And she said that Caitlin Clark should be satisfied because if it wasn't for the WNBA, she wouldn't have the platform to make millions elsewhere. Did somebody want to remind her that we knew who Caitlin Clark was before she joined the WNBA? That we knew who Angel Reese was before she joined the WNBA? That we knew who Paige was before she joined the WNBA? These 3 ladies were legends on the court in college basketball, to the point we were turning on the televisions because they were playing. When it was Angel versus Caitlin, everybody was locked in. When South Carolina went up against Caitlin Clark's team, we were all locked in. When USC, led by Juju, was playing Paige, UConn Huskies, we were all locked in. So it's not because of the WNBA. Don't get it twisted. Now, you can look at the following, you can see that the WNBA's ratings and viewership have gone up. Yes, they went up because of Caitlin Clark. Yes, they also went up because of Angel Reese. And they also been going up even more because of Paige. So we don't need to hear that. But I also thought something was very interesting. I saw a lot of support coming from the players and even some of the team accounts. When you see people like Alexi Hall, who is Caitlin Clark's best friend, speaking up in solidarity, Natasha Cloud, Erica Wheeler, so many women letting Fee know, oh, we got your back. Now, it was also interesting because I saw this and I saw people talking about it. Caitlin Clark said no comment. This ain't the time for a no comment. I'm sorry. I want to hear what Caitlin Clark got to say. I want to hear the smoke. And I may be in the minority, and I know I may get heat for this. But, sometimes a no comment can be read either way. It could be, hey, I'm not going to speak up because I agree, but they said it. Or I'm not going to speak up because I don't want the heat because I don't agree with what she said. I'd rather hot or cold. Pick one. So that's what I thought was interesting. Angel Reese, 10 out of 10, no notes. Loved it. So we'll see. This is going to be very interesting. We should be talking about the fact that as I record, the Las Vegas Aces are playing the Indiana Fever for a spot to go against the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA Finals. That will be 7 games this year. But instead, we're talking about, this because they couldn't get a deal done. And she said it's not about wins and losses, but these refs aren't being held accountable. So I can't wait to see how this story develops over the next few weeks. Folks, I said this last week and none of you liked what I had to say. I said the Baltimore Ravens were cooked and that there needed to be a change. They were 1-2. One of the comments I remember seeing was that they're going against the Chiefs. It'll be fine. They'll beat the Chiefs. Then I saw if they go 1-3, it gets easier. You can never take anything for granted in sports because Lamar Jackson's hurt. Marlon Humphrey's hurt. Roquan Smith is hurt. Jair Alexander not playing for whatever reason. Nnamdi Matabuke, we send well wishes. He may never play again. I'm concerned about his health. Yes, I'm a Ravens fan, but I'm a fan of humanity. I want this brother to live. So, with all that, right? With all of that, it's a possibility that this team is cooked. Like I said before, you could tell the way it was something about that Lions game. And you can see it wasn't that they lost, but they got their ass whooped. And I remember, I was like, I haven't seen that happen. And then it happened the next week against the Chiefs. Now, there was this talk that Lamar Jackson quit on the team. He got hurt, hamstring injury. And, it's been brought to a lot of people's attention. I don't think Lamar Jackson would ever quit on the Baltimore Ravens or the fans. But I see a player who's frustrated. And I think it's time for a change. Y'all remember, if you was watching, I said when John Harbaugh visited Donald Trump, I said, that's not going to sit well with the fan base. He's already on thin ice. Then his answers, it was the way he came at that reporter. There was a lack of accountability being held. And that's what has happened. And the reason why I say lack of accountability, when the reporter said, you're visiting a president who's disparaging a city in which you coach in. He flipped and said, no, how about you ask me what's it like to be invited to the White House? No, brother. But now you look at what Harbaugh is doing. He blamed Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, for the pass in play that Lamar Jackson threw an interception. His first interception of the year. He said it wasn't a good play. And I'm like, okay, well, I honestly kind of like it, but it doesn't mean I'm satisfied because I think it's time for a coaching change. This season, now, obviously, by the numbers, right? They're only 1-3. They could go on a 13-game win streak. Boom, they're 14-3. We'll forget that they're 1-3. They could win the Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen. We're looking at 2, 3, 4 games without Lamar Jackson. Marlon Humphrey's going to miss some time. Roquan could miss some time. Even if they squeeze in the playoffs at 9-8, who knows? But I think there needs to be a culture change. I think there needs to be a different voice in the room. I was watching the Lakers documentary when Dr. Jerry Buss said he realized it was time to make a change and go away from Pat Riley. The voice started getting stale. That is what's happening. That is what's happening with John Harbaugh. The voice has completely gotten stale. So I think it's time. Hey, he will go in the Ring of Honor. He will probably be a Hall of Fame coach. He's had the longevity. He's won the Super Bowl. He's been to 4 AFC championship games. That's nothing to squawk about. But this is getting tired. The Ravens aren't playing their best football, and yet when you look at the roster, shoot, every time you play Madden, somebody's picking them. I'm not used to this. If I want to play Madden online, I'm used to people picking like the Chiefs or somebody. It's a lot of people picking the Ravens. So I think it's time. It's time, folks. Harbaugh got to go. You know, like I said, Marlon Humphrey went out there. He got burnt. And, I'm going to be easy on him. He got the calf injury, so he's going to be sitting down. I guess he's going to podcast anyway. Somebody said, like, they ain't got sponsors, this, that, and the other. And that's always my thing. It's like, it's not like they need the money. I'm just saying, brand awareness. No, take care of your business on the field first. And I guess the reason why I didn't mind Draymond was already a multi-time world champion. And he won the championship the year, I think, his podcast launched, or the second year. And then there's Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton went out there, said Ravens fans are spoiled. Now, I'm going to respect him because what I love was that he took back the words, and he understood the severity of what he said. So I got to give a shout out. I've been very critical about a lot of things. I got to give a shout out to Kyle Hamilton for being a man and owning his words. Y'all hear that Toys R Us could be making a comeback, at least here in Maryland. Let's be real. I know we were all sad when Toys R Us shut down, but when you get older and you start spending your own money, you realize this stuff cheaper at Walmart. This stuff cheaper at Target. Toys R Us was an experience. My oldest child got the experience. He probably don't remember, but I remember taking him in and letting him walk around and look at the toys. But it was an experience, a place full of toys. But let's not act like they were cheap. They were marked up, man. I remember the video games, same thing. They barely went on sale. So, but if Toys R Us comes back, hopefully they are economically friendly and this generation will get to experience that as well. Did y'all hear about LaVar Ball? So you may know LaVar Ball had one of his legs amputated. And now he's saying it's even he can beat Michael Jordan. Shout out to LaVar Ball, man. Y'all know, so back in the day, the Big Baller brand, I had a hat. I'm mad that I lost it. I was a fan of his. I love the fact that there was this black man coming out telling everybody that his son was better than Steph Curry and that he could beat Michael Jordan, and that he was going to have all three of his sons drafted in the NBA, and they were all going to play ball. He said they was all going to play for the Lakers at one point. Now, Lonzo was obviously drafted. LiAngelo was never drafted. He had a couple times on, practice squads or G League. And then LaMelo, he's killing. And LaVar told us LaMelo was the best out of all of them. You talk about riding a 15-minute, 15 minutes of fame. I love the fact that, he put his sons over. He tried to get their own shoe. It worked. But, they had the little Facebook show when Facebook was trying to jump into original video content. So shout out to LaVar Ball. Keep talking. That's what I'm going to say. A lot of people don't like that. I'm going to say keep talking. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support this podcast by wearing a t-shirt, whether it's the one that says Breaking Through Glass Ceilings or the one that says No Ceilings Above Success, simply go to foryourwear.com. Also, you can support some of your other favorite podcast and content creators, including Those Wrestling Girls, Seahawk, and the Wrestling Club. And you can support some of your favorite independent wrestlers, including Jay Bougie, Trisha Dora, Chaz the Don. Shoot, all the Pure Ignorance is on there. So go on foryourwear.com, go under personalities, you'll find Brian H. Waters, and buy a t-shirt. And remember, I'll give you a shout out on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, are you in the gym every week? Are you looking to kind of keep yourself cool while you work up a nasty sweat? Well, I got the best thing for you. Cooling bands, bandanas, cooling towels, and so much more. Go to Vertical Athletics, get your favorite team in MLS or MLB, or guess what? Now they have a custom option so you can upload your own logo and you can save 10% at checkout when you enter the code Brian H. Waters. Go to vertical.com, use the code Brian H. Waters to save 10% on some of your best cooling gear. So one thing I saw interesting was that AOL Dial Up has officially come to an end. I'm wondering, where in the United States of America are people using AOL Dial Up? Now we're talking about, what year is this? 2025, right? So we're literally talking 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when those CDs would come in the mail and you had minutes, how much time you could use the internet. And kids, y'all may not know about this, but it was a time where you'd be on the internet and the phone ring and it would kick you off because that phone had to go through. Or sometimes it would just be a busy tone. And that means nobody could get through. See, there was no call waiting for the internet, because it took that. So like if you went to download a video, it would literally take all day. Taking to pull up a picture online, depending on how fast your dial-up was, could take a minute or 2, 3, 4 minutes. So I remember when the DSL modem came out and how much of a big deal that was. It was high-speed internet. And then, Wi-Fi in the house. But there was a time where you literally had to go to a central location. And that's how it was. Your phone jack hooked up to your computer and boom, that's how you got the internet. So yeah, that's interesting. I was just shocked when I was going through threads and I saw that. But yeah. We in the MLB playoffs. I'm excited to look and see what happens. Before I sat down and record, the New York Yankees. I hope if it comes to the Yankees and Red Sox, I'm always going to root for the Yankees. And the Yankees were up 1-0. They got one on Garrett Crochet, and that's it. Max Fried pitched his butt off, but the reliever came in, gave up 3 runs, and they had the bases loaded with nobody out against Aroldis Chapman. And you always think, yeah, somebody's going to score, but not today. Yankees down 1-0, or should I say Red Sox up 1-0. They'll do it again tomorrow. We shall see. My pick, my official pick for the World Series is the Seattle Mariners defeating the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I know it's hopeful and wishful thinking, but I think Kyle Riley, I've been going back and forth with this, right? But I got to go with Kyle Riley as the MVP, and simply because he's a catcher. And how hard it is to play that position and no pass balls, that has to be a factor for something. I know Aaron Judge has got the WAR. I know he's got, the on base percentage, but Kyle Riley, what he's been able to do and bring this Seattle Mariners team to a 2 seed, a division title, that's my MVP, folks. But that will do it for this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you tune in to the Loving Them Gates podcast. I cannot wait to talk about this week. It's only Tuesday and it's already spicy. So if you watch Beyond the Gates, you definitely want to tune in to the Loving Them Gates podcast. And if you don't, start watching because it's good. Till the next time, folks, remember, do not let anyone place a ceiling above your success. So long, everyone.